He was heading to the gym like he did every day with his friends. However, on March 13, 2015, everything took a turn. On the way to the gym that day, he met with a car accident. Not wearing his seat belt, he was thrown halfway out headfirst. In a coma for weeks at a time, he woke up not able to walk or talk, and half of his head was missing. He did not know what he felt after surviving a car accident at 18 years of age and being put through the most dangerous surgery in the world. He believed that the fight was over. However, that was not the case. Only a couple of months after his accident, the real battle began. Because of the damage to his frontal lobe, he lost control of his emotions, which eventually landed him in a mental hospital. Within those walls is when he discovered the reason behind his second chance. He could now help others who felt trapped behind their layers of pain. He is now an inspirational speaker and a coach certified by Les Brown, one of the most well-known motivational speakers in the world. He is an author of Recycling Pain, and he believes that there is no such thing as pain without opportunity. Ladies and gentlemen, Luke Bohnenberger.
Wow, man, that was an amazing introduction. I felt on top of the world. I got to get you to introduce me every single time, everywhere I go on stage. I might just hire you to introduce me on the stage. So thank you so much for bringing me to the show. I've watched your interviews. I was so excited when you messaged me on Facebook to get on this interview. And I was like, oh my gosh, yes. And I messaged you as soon as I could. And hearing the introduction, I'm thinking I'm on top of the world. So thank you so much for that. It really means a lot.
Thank you very much, Luke. Thanks a lot. As I mentioned to everybody, it's an odd time there in the US. And thank you very much for taking time and coming for this show.
Oh,
Luke,
absolutely.
Luke, 13th of March, 2015, changed your life. In a very short span, it changed completely who you were before and the person who is sitting right in front of me today. What are the changes that you went through, and what are the lessons that you learned from that?
Wow. That's a question I go on for days. The accident I was in was, people don't know, I was thrown out of a car going 7 miles per hour head first. And see, people go, hey, do you remember dying? Do you remember getting in the car or things like that? I actually don't. All I remember is sitting down on my couch. My friend going, hey, let's go to the gym. I said, all right. He goes, all right, ride's here. Fantastic. I stood up. And then all of a sudden I woke up about 2 weeks later. Half my head was missing. I mean, literally half of my skull was completely missing. I had a tube down my throat, 2 tubes in my chest, tubes in my stomach, and tubes other places I didn't want them to be. And I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know if I was more confused or if I was more scared, if I had fear. And so this moment, I wanted to get up and I wanted to ask someone what was going on. However, both of these things I couldn't do. My left leg wasn't moving. My voice was speaking. I thought I was in a dream. I thought I was in someone else's body. I didn't believe at first. I was in denial of what was happening. A week went on. I forgot some stuff. A week went on. I began to come to realization what was happening to me. So yeah, I sustained. I used to say suffered, but I changed the word to sustained. I sustained a TBI, which is a traumatic brain injury. When I was in the accident, apparently I crushed my right side of my skull. And this right here has nothing to do with that. This is a recent surgery. When I crushed my right head of my skull and did that, my brain began to swell. They had to remove half my skull, which is the most dangerous surgery in the world. The first trauma team working on me declared me dead. Pretty much said, there's nothing we can do. So another trauma team said, hey, he's too young to give up on. We just can't call it. During surgery, once again, my heart came to a stop. They were able to bring me back. See, the point of this story, all this coming through, the coma, the relearning how to walk, the relearning how to talk, the relearning how to do simple things. I was struggling with things a 4-year-old could do with these things, not the struggle I was going through. No, this was the struggles when I got out of the hospital. And the damage to my frontal lobe took something we all should cherish, and that's control. See, I lost control of my emotions. I laughed for hours. I couldn't stop. I mean, I was getting abs while laughing. I was crying. I was angry. There was holes in my walls, ears broken. And see, even though those were terrible, I think the deadliest emotion I dealt with was depression. And when you get depression and you're impulsive, that leads to suicide. And I was thrown out of a car going 70 miles per hour head first. But I'd never been hit harder than when depression hit. And that was my lowest point in my life, is I wanted to take my life, where I was planning it out, literally daydreaming about it, thinking about it constantly, just wanting to die. Put into this mental hospital. And this is where the new Luke came into play. I got something we all should be, I think we all have, I don't think we're grateful for it. And that's our perspective. Yeah. And I got a new perspective on life. When you're at your lowest point, I say this, when you're down on the ground, take a moment and look around. Because what you learn down there is going to get you to the top. What you learn down there is going to be things that you've never learned before, things that get you to the next step. Because here's the difference. I say this. There's a difference between successful people and people that are mediocre and average. And that's not falling down. We all will fall down. That's not the problem. It's what we do when we're down there. So the big shift in my life, what would change me from Luke before the accident and Luke now, was the perspective. I think that was the hugest thing. And I know I've told that whole story. The reason I shaped the story for you to say, hey, I went through coma, relearning how to walk and talk, even being able to use the restroom at times, eat or drink. But the hardest thing was depression. And that was a big shift into my perspective and how I became successful like I am today.
Wow. There are a lot of people who are going through like depression. What is that you would like to share to them so that they can come back like you made your life change?
Here's the thing, just like a brain injury, just like a brain or a fingerprint, everything's different for somebody. Mm-hmm. I like to say pain's like a fingerprint. We all have it. And it might look from a distance, it might all look the same. However, if you get close enough and examine it, you'll realize that's the thing that gives you identity. And see, with depression, it's not going to be easy. So for those who are listening right now and you're struggling, because a lot of people think depression is sad. Actually, it's not sadness, but more the inability to be happy. They can't be happy. And I couldn't find happiness no matter what situation I was placed in. People think sadness and depression are alike. There's a big difference. You get people like Robin Williams. He was depressed, and people look at him. And I remember one time someone said, how could he do that? How could he commit suicide? He had everything going for him. I was like, it doesn't matter what he has going for him. It's what he sees that's going for him. And he saw nothing, which I'm assuming. I never talked to him. But that's what depression is like. So if you're going through this right now, first of all, pain is temporary. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And depression is pain. It is temporary. Don't give up. Don't just wait for things to get better in time. I don't believe in time. I believe with time. And the reason I say with is, I mean it together. You have to work with time. You can't just sit and expect it to get better. You got to work with it. Work and work and work. Get out. Try to find things that spark your happiness. Try to think things that light the fire inside of you. Even if it takes weeks, months, even years, you will find it. So that's my advice to people that are dealing with depression is, you're down here. You're down at the bottom. While you're down there, look around, because what you see down there is what's going to get you up to the top.
Absolutely. Today, you are a well-known author. You are a trainer. You are a facilitator. You are a coach. And you also got some awards, if I believe. What are those awards that you recently got in a sequence?
Well, that's where I met you, was the Les Brown Institute. And so I went to this Les Brown Institute, and they said, I love competing. I'm a competitive guy. I'm 22 years old. I'm competitive. Since I can't compete in sports anymore because of my injury, I said, I'll compete in speaking. So when they said, we're doing this 3-minute contest, you give us 3 minutes. You share your story in 3 minutes. Then we'll have everyone sends in a video, the 3-minute speech, and they pick top 15, then like 10, and then like a top 5 for the winners. I've won this 4 times in a row. Every time I've sent in a video, I've gotten to that top 5. And they don't have a winner past the top 5, but I've gotten to that top 5. And I believe the true secret to it is in my speaking skills as much as my story and being able to hit the points. Because I can share my story the way I want to. But it's not about what I want to share, it's what you want to hear. And so I've been able to take my story and pinpoint ideas within the story that I know the audience could connect with.
Well, Luke, while you were in the hospital, the doctors, they said that you will take around 1 year to walk, but you made it within 2 weeks. What was the secret behind that?
First of all, we have to give all props to God. Yeah. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Prayers are amazing. I mean, people were praying for me from all over the world. I had people from Mexico, someone from, I think, my family in Germany that was praying for me. Family I don't even speak to. I never even spoke to them in my life. But the power of prayer brings people together. So we had people from all over the world for me. But also determination. When they told me, you can't walk. This is the one time being stubborn works in your favor. I got up in the middle of the night and tried standing up. I fell a lot, but I kept trying. It's a life. You're going to fall a lot, right? I kept trying to stand up. And from these points, eventually, actually, the nurses and the doctors put a little timer on my bed. So if I got any weight off my bed while I was sleeping, the alarm would go off. So that you could tell they were getting annoyed from me falling.
Okay.
But eventually, when I was during therapy and something happened, I wasn't thinking about walking. I was thinking about getting something off the table, and I walked over there. And my knee didn't pop or anything like it usually did. And once I saw that I could do it, I failed a couple times after, but now I knew, okay, I can do it. I did it this time. I can do it again. So I did it again. Like, you've heard this story, and I can't give you exact details, of the guy that broke the 4-minute mile.
Yeah.
They said it was impossible, absolutely impossible. But the one guy finally beat the 4-minute mile. And in that year, thousands of people were doing it. Why? Because they knew it was possible. And that's the same thing as me walking again.
Wow. Now, today you are an expert in TBI. You coach TBI. So just explain the audience, what is TBI and what do you do for them?
I'm a TBI coach, and what TBI stands for traumatic brain injury. That's anything from...
You said traumatic brain injury.
Traumatic brain injury. And this can go from anything from a severe concussion. This is very common in the military, very common with NFL players. You'll see this a lot with NFL players. And definitely people in car accidents. But it can be so simple as falling off your bike and hitting your head in the wrong way. And people don't really realize the effects of a TBI, because a lot of times it's an invisible handicap. Because a lot of people with traumatic brain injuries some of them are in wheelchairs still and can't walk or can't talk. A lot of them are just as normal looking as I am, but they're dealing with this emotional issue, which means they can't, like I mentioned earlier, they can't control their emotions. They're impulsive, angry, depressed. They're dealing with this emotional side effect. Definitely impulses. Impulses are the number one, I think, symptom of traumatic brain injury. Feel impulsive. And so what I do, as someone that's been there, someone that knows the weight feels like on your shoulders, what I do is when people come out of therapy, that's not when you're done with your therapy. A lot of people think, oh, I'm out of the hospital. I thought this. I'm telling you from personal experience. I thought, okay, I'm out. I'm good. But that's when the real battle began. And so when those people get out and they say they're good, but they really start battling and trying and start to fail to connect with their family again or their loved ones. I lost my friends during my accident. We're friends again. I was able to connect with them through forgiveness. But losing that connection, trying to connect families, trying to adjust back to life outside of therapy with their emotions or trying to perfect their communication skills and things like that. I'm able to pinpoint those and help people. Definitely talk to someone with a brain injury. I know when I was going through mine, when the therapist or something said this, I didn't want to believe him. I was like, you don't know what I'm going through. How can you tell me? You've never been here. As a TBI coach, they can't say that to me. I have been there. May it be different. I have been where you've been. I like to say, I've walked in your path, but I'll never be in your shoes.
Mm-hmm.
So I have been there, and they can't use excuse. And that's really what I try to help people with brain injuries. Get back to lives, find their motivation, help them adjust with their emotions and their speaking. Because I'm a speaker, so I think that I was diagnosed with a communication disorder, and now I'm a speaker. Like, that's not amazing. I don't know what is. Mm-hmm. So I really try to help people in that realm.
Wow. Hi, Luke. Would you be able to explain about PTSD?
Oh, absolutely. First, let me explain what PTSD stands for.
Mm-hmm.
PTSD stands for post-traumatic stress disorder. It affects a lot of people, but a lot of people are confused about it. A lot of people think the military are the only ones, people in the military are the only ones that deal with this issue. And they do, absolutely they do. And it's a big issue with the military. But it's not just anybody, it's anyone who's gone through something. Mm-hmm. And that's pretty much everyone, right? That's everyone. But it depends how your brain reacts to it. And I had PTSD. It was really bad in the beginning of my car accident. I remember when I got out of the hospital, the first day, when I heard an ambulance, I was screaming, I was punching, I was trying to get out of the car, even when it was on the highway. There was no common sense playing in my head saying, hey, don't get out of the car, you're going down a highway. No, I just wanted to get out. PTSD is serious. It can harm someone psychologically, emotionally, spiritually, and physically. It's a serious matter. And I think a lot of us aren't educated on it. And a lot of us, we see these people that have these episodes in the middle of nowhere and we're like, oh, that guy's crazy or that girl's crazy. We really don't know what's going on. There's such thing as invisible handicaps. PTSD, traumatic brain injuries, many other things are invisible handicaps, meaning they're real, you just don't see them. So PTSD affects military, like I said. It affects a lot of different people. And for advice for people that have PTSD, first advice is go see someone for help, professional for help. Mm-hmm. It's a serious matter. You don't know how it can affect you later on down the road if you keep ignoring it. So make sure you get help immediately, as fast as possible. I had to get help. I went to counseling. I had to flood myself with certain sound, help me get used to ambulance sounds, because of course I'm going to hear ambulances, fire trucks, and police cars. I wouldn't be able to go anywhere if I could never hear those again. So I was able to get used to that again, shape myself into society, being able to hear those and not having a panic attack. Do they still make my heart race sometimes? Absolutely. I don't like it, even before the accident. I don't like seeing an ambulance pass me, because the first thing that goes through my mind is like, who's hurt? Is it someone I love? Is it a friend? So that still affects me in that matter. But if you do have PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, no matter if you think it's not worth going to see, if it's not a big deal to you, it can get worse, and you should definitely go get help.
Absolutely, absolutely. Luke, you have gone through all this ups and downs in your life. And even when you are down, today you are a champion as a speaker. You're also an author. And you have a fantastic book with you. Take us through the book, please. Take us through the book. Yes, there you go.
So this is my book. It's called Recycling Pain. And the idea, let me share a cool fact with you. There are 3,000 different species of snakes. And this will come to sense, I promise. There are 3,000 different species of snakes on this planet. And out of those 3,000 different species, 375 of those species are poisonous, are venomous. And a small group of those, they discovered that their venom has toxic components to heal. They're working with snakes' venom can prevent heart attacks and strokes.
Yep. Stuff
that they're working with right now, great potential, and they're really getting excited for it, is it can target certain cancer cells to cure a certain cancer. Snake's venom. So here's the difference, and this is about the book. It's not about snakes. The book's not about snakes. But here's the difference between the successful people and the mediocre. Here's the difference between the and the 99%. Difference between those who make it and those who don't is what you do with your poison. See, we're all going to get poison in our lives. We're all going to have venom in our life. We're going to have a snake bite us, metaphorically. We're going to be in that time. Successful people take it and turn it into something that was meant to kill, but now turn it into something that heals. So what this book about is how to recycle your pain, how to take something that most people would see as a handicap, a disadvantage, take the time to find the opportunities within it. If you're not going through something hard right now, and if you are, there's lessons to be learned. But if you're going through something, bad news, you're going to go through something.
Yep.
And definitely if you're a successful person, I know you can agree with this, doctor. If you're successful, you're going to have more pain. Now, why is this? Like, what? Why? Because you're trying. You're going for more. And if you go for more, you'll get more. Yep. Now, I'm not saying don't try to be successful because you don't want pain. Successful people, when they're down there, and they're going to be down there just like everyone else. They're down there. They take a look around, get the perspective, they learn. And then throughout life, when they go through at different spectrums of life, there's different levels of life, they get different perspective. So when they reach the top, they're well-rounded. That's how people are successful. And this book talks about recycling pain. I talk about how you can recycle pain with laughter. After my car accident, I started stand-up comedy, which is the scariest thing I've ever done. Because when you're speaking to people to inspire them, you don't have to get a reaction immediately. If you tell a joke and no one laughs immediately, it feels like you just shut down your whole set. Yeah. So it was really tough to overcome that, but I did go out there. I made people laugh. I actually got paid once. It wasn't much, but I got paid. It was really cool. Laughter is a great way, because one thing I want you to do, and if you're watching this, laugh at yourself, right? You got to be able to laugh at yourself sometimes. Laugh at your pain. Don't laugh at someone else's pain. They won't find that funny. Yeah. But be able to laugh at your own pain, because once you do that, your brain's going to look at it differently and isn't going to take it as seriously. But the number one thing this book goes over, the number one thing I want you to realize is, if you're down low right now, look around. Find the opportunity, because I don't believe, and I say in the book, I don't believe there's pain without opportunity. I don't think it exists. Just like I mentioned the snakes. Now, why did I go into snakes? Because I don't believe God puts anything on this earth that isn't here to serve us. Right? You're thinking, oh, well, snakes, they're bad. They're here to kill. Or, I don't want to. I'm not saying go, if you have cancer or you don't want to have heart attacks, to go grab a venomous snake and get it. No, I'm not saying that either. Because you can't just take the poison as it is and do something with it and expect it to be great right then. You have to take the poison and create something with it. Scientists don't take the snake's venom and use that and put it in pills to give it to people. We'd have a lot of issues. They found certain things in it they could use, added some things, and turned it into something that is right now being worked on to cure cancer. So recycle your pain. Find ways to take advantage of your pain. Pain serves those who are willing to take advantage of it. The question is, when you're down there, and we all will be, what are you going to see, and what are you going to do with it?
Wow. Luke, in the conclusion, what do you would like to share with the audience?
So in conclusion, I would like to say this. If you're watching this right now and you're in a rut, if you're going through stuff that's hard, and I understand. Do I know what you're going through? Absolutely not. Like I said before, you can walk in someone's path, but you'll never be choose. But if you are going through something right now, you've heard the quote, pain is temporary. Let me put a little twist on that. It's not. Pain is temporary if you're willing to work with it, take something in it, learn in it, or learn from it. Turn it. But if you're just to go, if you're just saying, "Oh, it's temporary. I'll deal with it later. I'll do it." It could be for a very long time, and I think you can agree with that, doctor. Absolutely. So if you're going through something right now, if you're going through pain, if you're trying to build a business, and realize most businesses fail within 5 years. Why did they do that? Why do businesses fail within 5 years? Some people say, well, they're not educated. They don't know what they're doing when they're starting the business. They don't know how business works. I just started my business, Luke Speaks, LLC. I'm not a business side. Neither do I have a business degree. I'll tell you what one thing I do have, and that's passion with discipline. So if you're starting a business and you feel like something's going wrong and you feel like you need to quit, don't. Keep pushing through. Keep working through it. Because eventually, if you keep working, it could take a year, could take 2 years. It'll go right. Something will go right in that business. You got to keep working. If you're going through pain or depression right now, that is something that you need to take the time and get perspective. Go to groups, talk to people that are going through you are. We were not put on a planet of over 7 billion people to be alone. No one can become successful by themselves. Absolutely not. Don't believe it. And realize this, one last thing for you. There's no such thing as a top without a bottom. So thank you.
Wow, that is powerful. Ladies and gentlemen, Luke.